plug in the charger on the camera. So the battery, we'll hope that it will last at least 30 to 45 minutes. I hope if it shuts off, oh well. So if we're ready, we're going to review first from last week, just a real brief review. And we'll find in Genesis chapter 2. So I'll sign this real quick. The Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden. What does it mean when it says God placed Adam there? From the Hebrew word meaning rest. God put him there to rest. It's very interesting. We discussed that last week. And his responsibility was to take care and watch over everything in the Garden of Eden. And the next verse says, Then God blessed them, and he said, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and govern it, and reign over the fish in the sea, and the birds in the sky, and all of the animals that scurry along the ground. So it's very clear. We discussed that God himself gives responsibilities and jobs to Adam. So it's the same as today with us. We have responsibilities to take care of the animals and make sure that everything on earth is going well. That's our responsibility. Okay? Any questions? Okay? Okay, so I'll explain this, what it means. When it says that Adam's responsibility to look over, and God placed him in the Garden of Eden and the place to rest. So now we'll start discussing tonight Genesis 2:16 and 17. Now it's interesting, when you read this, and I'm going to sign it, it says, But the Lord God warned him. He said, You can freely eat the fruit of every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat its fruit, you will surely die. So now, I have a question. You might have a question that pops up. Do you all have a question when you read this? Or does it cause you puzzle, and maybe some people out have a common question? So what do they normally say? And they seem to say that maybe it's not fair. Is there a question that relates to that? So God made the tree, with the fruit. He asked them if he could eat the fruit, but if they followed the devil, but God planned for them to rebel, and they ate the fruit and messed everything up. So God knew. He knew that everything would be that way, but why did God put the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Why did he put it there? There's a lot of discussion and debate about that. Were you going to say something? So, to see if he could test them? Well, because God gave them the free will to choose. Yeah, any more? He said he was free to eat any of it. But one? So what's up with the one? All this other we can eat but one. Any more? Okay. So I've already taken this from somewhere else. Someone else wrote this. He was kind of complaining. He seemed to be against God himself. He thought he was bad. He was wicked. It seemed like God was wicked. It wasn't fair. And why? Because we were not there. Adam messed up himself. He did it. We were not there. It wasn't our fault. It was because of Adam's sin. But there are people that discuss that and they complain. So I've taken this to see. We'll see what they say. Now, I don't know who wrote this. It's just some people, who were writing. So I guess they just didn't want to say who wrote this. It was on the internet. So I'll sign this. This is wrong. This perspective is not correct. So it said this verse that we just recently read may be interpreted as if God also created evil. Why would he put that there? Would he put the tree of good and evil? So it makes it look like God created that. So often some people believe that. And they affirm that all good comes from God and evil from man. But it seems that at the moment of reading the Bible, they all forget that the same God who created the good also created evil. So what necessity, what reason did God have to plant this tree? Whose fruits were fruits of evil. And here there's a dilemma, meaning there's something there, something that's negative. Both are negative, doesn't matter, is posed. Either one. God did not know what was going to happen. So Adam would take the fruit from the tree of good, knowledge of good and evil, but he didn't know what was going to happen. He saw the tree, it was bothering him. It was bothersome. Or did he know what would happen if Adam rebelled and took the fruit? Then why did God make the tree? If he did not know, then he was not wise. God was not wise. And if he knew, well, then he himself was wicked. So you see, which was it? God was clueless, he didn't know, he wasn't wise. So if God knew, then he was bad. And he said, oh, too bad. Adam, just take the fruit, rebel. Well, that's too bad. We're born sinners. Oh well, God is wicked. So that's what that person was trying to say. And there are many people who believe that. And there's some discussion about it, debate. But it's not, they say that's not right, he's wrong. It's not fair. I remember one of my friends did ask me, he didn't believe in God. Why did I believe in God? She said the reason why I asked was because God made bad things. Like, for example, it started with Adam. He put the bad tree there. So he did that on purpose. I'm like, So, for example, there are many people that think that way. So, what's the answer? So, first, there was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The tree was there, and God told Adam, do not eat from it. You can eat all the others, but don't eat from that one. So the tree of knowledge of good and evil, is that tree bad? The fruit is bad? Well, just recently it said that the tree's fruit was the fruit of evil. Is that true? Is the tree itself of knowledge of good and evil, is it bad? No, it's not. Why? This is interesting. Genesis 1, we're going back to chapter 1. It says, then God looked over. So God had finished creating on the 6th day. Right. So God looked over everything that he had already made. And he saw that it was very good. And evening passed and the morning came, and that marked the 6th day. Which means that everything that God had finished making on the 6th day, everything that he had finished up to that point, everything was good. Of course, the tree, the knowledge of good and evil, was there. It was there. And it says all was good. All was very good. So the tree of knowledge of good and evil, was it good? Yes, it was good. So if itself was bad, then we could blame God. He created it. We can't blame God as evil and wicked. No. The tree itself, knowledge of good and evil, was good. So how do you explain that? Any discussion on it? It's like the only answer there is. God gave us free will to choose. It was our choice. That's the reason. That makes more sense. That's good. God was testing Adam to see whether he would take it or not. If he would choose to obey or not. The true question is, when did Eve start? You have to go more deeper, because if you go back, Lucifer was with God until he found out, when he established the earth and man, then he thought that he could be superior to them. He got angry and rebelled and came down. And that's when evil started, and he gave him the choice to follow him or God or him, Lucifer. So if you look, back, it's also the same. It says, except the tree of the knowledge. It's not wrong, the tree of knowledge. That's from the Hebrew word. Knowledge is good. The tree of good and evil. Doesn't say that. It says the tree of knowledge. That itself, knowledge. That itself is good. The tree of evil, good and evil. I'll show you more clearly. The tree itself was not of good and evil, meaning that the tree itself has inside of it good and evil. The tree itself. That's not what that means. Do you understand that? Not have good and evil in it, no. But really, or rather, it was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, from the Hebrew word good. So knowledge of what? Good and evil. It doesn't necessarily mean that the tree was bad itself. No, that's not what it means, okay? But some people explain it and make, it makes sense. So you see, the knowledge of good that we need to do means, we know what's good, okay? So we know what we should do, not, walk around clueless, like, what's good? I don't know. No, we know. We know what's good, and we do that, right? We know, okay? So then it says, and the evil that we need to avoid. Meaning, you know what's evil, and you don't do that. You avoid it. Okay, you see? So the knowledge of good and evil means, is that bad? No. The good, we know what's good and what's evil. So, it says the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Just because it says it's evil doesn't mean that it's a bad tree. No, it's a good tree. We have to trust God's word. What God says, when he looks over on the 6th day, looked at everything was very good on the 6th day. That includes the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Itself bad? No, it's good. Everybody clear? It does not mean that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil means that it's bad. It is good. So the tree caused sin? No, it did not. That was Adam. When he took the devil, like the serpent, and rebelled. It was not the tree's fault. You understand? So some people say, oh, that tree was bad. He put it there. That's bad. The tree is wicked. It's evil. But no. Is that clear? So that's the first thing we need to know. So he tested, he followed the evil or followed God. He knew. But I'm going to explain that later. It's like Adam was free to eat anything there. It was his choice. It was free will to choose. Yes, that's correct. God tested him? Yes. But I have a question for you, and this is what many people just recently, both of you asked. And you're right, God was testing them. Yes. But let me ask you. God didn't know. Did he know if Adam would rebel or Adam would obey? Was he just trying to see and test? Yeah, Adam rebelled. I didn't know he was going to do that. Was that the way it happened? No. Adam already knew. If you remember, God knows everything. In the past, the future, the present, he knows. He knows everything, right? So itself, omniscience. He knows omniscience. Adam knew, yeah.
Rewind.
God knew, yeah. God knew everything. Thank you, Megan. Sometimes my brain will spell things incorrectly or do things wrong. Theory. You said that word real bad. Omniscience. So it means he's all powerful. And then omnipresent means that God is everywhere. Sorry, my spelling. So we'll go back to the verse 16 and 17. And we look at this and we're thinking, God warned him and said, you may freely eat from every tree in the garden. He was free to choose. Maybe, how many trees? Maybe 20,000 trees? Was there a limit? There was no limit. Maybe to Adam, there were so many trees that he could count, but they were all over. He was free. Go ahead. Wow. God was good. He provided all this for him. All the trees in the world he was able to eat from. I mean, all kinds. Yeah. Meaning there were many thousands of trees. So he said, go ahead. You're free to eat. Adam could, at his pleasure, just go in and eat. It's up to him. Just go ahead. And that was a true blessing that he gave him. There was no frustrations. He wasn't forced to eat it. He was just free. It was a blessing. He could just eat as much as he wanted. God provided that. Adam was what? Like a restaurant? What? Oh, fast food restaurant.
Oh.
He was free to go eat whatever he wanted. You see, many people forget that. They focus on this one thing. Well, the one bad tree. Why? Why would God put that one tree there? God was good. He provided again and again. It's the same as today. People talk about, oh, God's not fair. He doesn't allow me to do this. I want all these things. I want to, do many different things. Whatever. All these things that people want. But they forget how much God provides. His provisions, His blessings rain down on us. The verse says that He rains both who do not believe and those who do believe. Believers both. He's just full of provisions. Like the air we breathe every day, God gives us all these things. Those people who complain and rebel against God, they forget that. What God really did for them was so good. His grace, His gifts, They still complain. Oh, there's suffering. There's things that are messed up. Oh, God wouldn't allow that. Why would he allow that? They forget all of the good that he has done. It's the same here. God allowed him to go freely. He wasn't forcing him to go. I'm not going to stop you. You're free to go. You're free to eat as much as you want and enjoy. And we're all the same. Because God has given those gifts, right? So, there was only one tree. And people complain. So now there's one man, and he's a pastor from, he explained this really well. He told the story. Scottish.
Plain.
Okay. He was Scottish. He was a pastor, Sinclair. Have you heard of him before? Sinclair Ferguson. He was a really good pastor from Scotland. And he himself was explaining this. So you'll get the idea. I'm going to sign it. So this was like God talking to Adam. He kind of expounded on this. And he said, I'm giving you everything. So let me look at the computer. I'm going to give you everything in this garden. So go and enjoy yourself. But, just before you head off, I've given you all of this. Why? Because I love you. Love you. And I want you to grow and develop in your understanding and in your love for me. So that's one reason. God wants you to develop and trust him and love him and have a relationship. The relationship is there. Adam did not have a bad relationship. There was no bad relationship. But it's like a baby. You know, when your baby is born and you teach them, and they learn that the mother and father love them. And they develop to trust the parents, and they love them. It's the same idea. Adam, it's the same idea. He needed encouragement to grow and develop love and trust for the Lord. And that's why he told him, go. That will be the reason. So, this is the plan. He provided the plan. So what was it? There's a tree here. It's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But don't eat its fruit. I know you want to know why. You want to know why, don't you? You know, sometimes it's the same idea when you say don't do that. You say why? Why? I remember, my son, when he was younger, he would go, why? And I said, it doesn't matter because I said so. So why? And so you have to explain it, give details, because they don't understand. They're too young. And you just say, no, I said so. Don't do that. Why? He was only 2 years old. So I have to say no. So then he says, well, I want you to know why. Or why don't you want to know why, don't you? Because I have made you as my image, meaning that he himself, Adam, has a decision to make. He's not an animal. He's natural inside, but Adam makes a decision himself. He's the same as God. He can be creative. He can make judgments for himself. He's not an animal. That's what that means. So I made you in my image. And I've given you instincts to enjoy what I enjoy, meaning it's natural for him to enjoy eating, to be pleasurable. No one taught him that. He didn't have to teach him to go eat. Oh, that's good for you. No, it was a natural thing. He was drawn to things that were beautiful and it made him want to eat. It was an instinct. It's kind of not like an animal. It's not really like an animal, but something that's natural, that's free to do. Like you can, whatever you want. Just go ahead and do whatever you want. Like it's natural. Do you know what that means? Like no one's forcing you. But he said, go and enjoy, just as I enjoy. So, in one sense, you naturally do what pleases me and simultaneously gives you pleasure too. Is everybody clear on this one? You say yes? Okay, so we keep going. He says, but I want you to grow in trusting and loving me just for myself. Because I am who I am. Meaning God himself created. He's the creator himself. So you can only really do that if you're willing to obey me. Not because you were wired to, meaning it was like a programmer, like a robot. No. He himself was not programmed like a computer to go. It's his decision. But not because you were wired to, but because you want to show me that you trust and love me. So it's developing trust for him. If you do that, you will find that you will grow stronger and that your love for me deepens, becomes more deep. Okay? We'll go one more. Anybody have any questions on this? Now trust me, I know. That's why I have put the tree there. He put the tree there so you would learn to trust God. He wanted man to trust him like the children trust their father. I'm not supposed to do that. So I put that tree there. I so want you to be blessed that I'm commanding you to eat and enjoy the fruit. All those trees. That's a command. But I have another command. What I want you to do is one simple thing. One, just one. Do not eat the fruit of that one tree. I'm not asking you to do that because the tree is ugly. So what's the point? What does that mean? The tree of knowledge of good and evil was beautiful. It's the same as all the other ones. It was the same. See, it's a beautiful tree. Doesn't mean that, okay, we'll go ahead and eat. You can do that. It's not what that means. For example, the main, what is that? Okay, so was the tree ugly? No, it was beautiful. It was the same as all the others. And that's why there was no excuse for Adam to say, oh, that's ugly, I don't want that tree. No. He could eat out of any of them, except for that one. Don't eat the one. Okay? I'm not asking you to do that because the tree is ugly. Actually, it is just as attractive as the other trees. I don't create ugly, ever. You won't be able to look at the fruit and think, that must taste horrible. No, that's a fine looking tree. So it's simple. So what does that mean? It's simple. And he's free to eat all the fruit, but don't eat that one. It's beautiful, but don't eat that. It's simple. It means don't take that fruit. It's simple. Trust me, obey me, and love me because of who I am and because you are enjoying what I have given to you. Trust me, obey me, and you will grow. So you see and understand now, he put the tree of good, knowledge of good and evil there so that he could learn. Now I have to trust what God says because I love him more and more and I want to grow and develop in him. So it's his choice to trust, to love him, or, nah, I want to know why. I want to question you. I want to be independent from you. I don't want to obey you. But really, that's right. We don't have to obey him, but we obey him because we love him. We obey him because we trust him. and we obey him because he's good, right? It's the same as Adam. Understanding, but he rebelled. And later in chapter 3, you'll find out why Adam rebelled, and it's sad. But we have the tree of good, knowledge of good and evil. Yes, it was good. And that shows that everything was good. It was wonderful. Except the one that he wasn't supposed to eat from. If it wasn't there, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, Adam would not know any different. Was it good? Everything good? But he didn't know about evil. When I shouldn't do that. He didn't know. You understand what I'm saying? For example, so there's water. Water itself, let's just suppose that you all didn't know that water itself could be hot. You turn it on. You didn't know. You never heard of it before. You never heard of hot water. You never heard of it before. Okay? So there was no hot water. So I'm going to tell you that the water here is cold. You go cold? Cold. But you don't know. Because you don't know what hot is. You have to have something to compare to. Hot water to cold water. Oh, okay, I know what cold water is because I've felt hot before. I felt hot and I felt cold, and you understand the difference. But if there were no hot water and you felt the cold water, it was like, yeah, I feel it, it's water. It's cold? Well, cold. What's cold? I don't know. Do you understand? Is that clear? Does that make sense? So it's the same as Adam understanding, don't do that. Do what God says. And Adam knew.